Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Aging and Spirituality podcast. And hopefully today we're going to have more uplifting news for you. I'm Chris Jensen.
I'm Kathy Taylor.
We're so happy you're joining us. Today's topic is one that just hit me very recently as well as a while ago. And I'm wondering, do you ever have a problem come up, like a health problem or some other problem, and you're not expecting it and you're thinking, these things don't happen to me. And then you wonder how everyone else is going to survive, while you're having an issue. And, we all kind of have that. Somehow we, especially women, we carry, the entire burdens of the world on our shoulders. But there is a freedom and a power that you can have instead of worry and fear. And this comes from, if you listen today, you're going to discover that humbleness and vulnerability can take the place of fear and angst and free you and open you to so much more.
Wow. Okay.
So I want to share some of my things, sometimes we sort of think we're on top of everything and then something falls apart. Our ego likes to feel like it's in charge of life and the lives of people around us. So, it's just kind of how it is. And, but sometimes the universe takes us out of that mode, and guess what? The world doesn't fall apart. I wanted to share two interesting things with you. 2019, I got breast cancer. It was a shock to me. I've always been in very generally good health.
Right.
And, it just took me by surprise when I went and had the mammogram and the radiologist said, this looks suspicious to me, come back for an MRI. My initial response was, I'll be back in 6 months. He said, no, you need to be back next week. So it was kind of a shock. And my initial response was, oh my gosh,
Not me.
yeah, not me. What's happening here?
Right.
But then what happened, mainly because of the yoga practice, was that I had this sense of the ego just softened. It was like this really humble, vulnerable feeling. Yeah, me. I'm just, like everybody else. And, the universe is giving me a message, it's giving me a message.
Yes.
And I can't control this. I can't take do of this. And the interesting thing that happened when I had that overwhelming sense of humbleness and vulnerability is that I didn't want to control it. I didn't want to, have to fix anything. I just was surrendering to whatever the universe had in mind. I just let go. I said, I can't do this. I need you.
Yes.
And there was an overwhelming sense of expansiveness in the heart. There was a lot of love. And I just felt completely free.
Wow.
Nothing mattered. Nothing mattered. And, I moved on. I mean, fortunately for me, that they caught that very early. And I had a couple surgeries and some radiation, and it was done, And I stopped doing the bioidentical hormones I was doing, which
that's another story.
Yeah,
I want to say something about that right there, because you just told a story that is so reflective of what yoga can do in your life. You got a diagnosis and you were like, what? Why me? That's a freak out response, right? And I was laughing because when I do that, my son, who I think is probably a Buddha from another life or something, he looks at me and goes, why not you? Like, you know what I mean? Like, are you so special? Like, nothing's ever going to happen to you. And I'm just like, oh, shut up.
Yeah, exactly.
But you went from, why to right into surrender. I just want the listeners to understand how much of a leap that is. How many of you think you could have done that in the moment when somebody said to you, you have breast cancer? I couldn't have. I'd have been flipping out, running around in circles, calling my friends, going, what the hell? I've been calling girls, going, now what do I do? Now what do I do? That kind of thing. But you just, okay, that's what I wanted to say. You just walked right into surrender and made the whole experience completely different, and the outcome likely much better.
Yeah, I probably so. But it was a matter of a lot of letting go. I mean, because of my many years of yoga, I was able to shift places pretty quickly, but there was a lot of letting go that had to happen there.
Yes.
And it happens, and that's all we have to do. You don't have to be doing yoga for 40 years, actually. If you can just in that moment
understand how to let go.
Yeah, understand.
But okay, but every moment when you say, I was learning to let go, every moment you walked into the doctor's office, every moment you went to the hospital for a treatment, every step along that process, was it a version of letting go as you went through it?
It was a version of letting go. It was, my first conversation with the breast surgeon when she's giving me survivability rates, which, I mean, granted, for stage 1 breast cancer, it was like 96% survival, but still it was the word,
just the big C.
Yeah, it kind of took me back a bit. And, but I, for when I was talking to her, it took me back a bit. And then I got out to the car and I think I called you and, and we talked a little bit, and that gave me that moment to shift gears.
Right.
Shift gears and just say, okay, what do you want here? What's going on?
Yes.
And be completely open to whatever was going to come. There was no way I was going to control it. It's that humbleness. It's that complete vulnerability that happens that opens you up to letting go of all the angst and the fear and the trying to control things.
I love that. That is so important what you just said. And let me just also say to the people who are new on the spiritual path or anywhere in between, it is so critical to have spiritual companionship. If I had not had Chris over the last 40 years, there would have been a lot of things that I had to get over that I may not have made it.
Yes.
Having a friend on the path is so important.
Right. It is so very important.
Yeah.
It's so very important. I mean, they help you to know who you really are and what's important. It kind of just brings that energy back,
Right. Reminds you when you're in fear, get the heck out, get back into spirit,
Right. Exactly.
Touch point. Yeah.
Exactly. A touch point that's so very valuable. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
So recently I had so I'm past that now. It's a couple of years later, and I feel like I've grown a lot, etc. And so regarding COVID, my husband and I have been very, very careful. I mean, my daughter just had a baby. He has a 96-year-old mother. We're very careful, and we've been vaccinated and boosted. And so a couple weeks back, and Jeff, he gets hay fever in the summer, and he got hay fever symptoms. So we immediately we waited a couple days. We did a COVID test. It was negative. So we figured it's the hay fever he gets every summer because that was what it was like. And so I didn't isolate or anything because the test was negative. So about a week later, it was a Sunday, he said, something doesn't feel right. And so I said, why don't you go to urgent care? Maybe your hay fever is turning into a sinus infection. So he went to urgent care and they tested him and he was positive.
Wow.
And they said that we had done our test too early. You have to test. They said you can test after 3 days and you could be negative. It's 5 days. And you have to test again about 5 days to really know. So that was a big shocker. And I was worried because I had been around my daughter and the baby. And so I tested it. By the time he got home from urgent care, they were closed. I tested at home. I was negative. The next morning, I decided to go into urgent care to test again, and I was positive.
Wow.
And the doctor said that the viral load was low, So probably the day before, I was still negative. It hadn't really come on me. And I felt fine that morning. And I thought, oh, I'm not going to have symptoms. See, there it is again.
Yeah.
And this doctor there was telling me, yeah, you don't feel anything. You're probably, so the middle of the night that night, it hit me, nose started running. And fortunately, it was just like a bad cold. But it was that same kind of experience
Yeah.
where I had to step back and say, okay, yeah, I did all these precautions, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to get this thing.
I'm human.
Yeah, it doesn't mean we're not going to get it.
Yeah.
And, there is something, again, in that letting go and just whatever had to be done or whatever was going on is just going to have to let go. And
Right.
again, that humbleness and vulnerability came in. And it was, it's such a beautiful experience. And I say to myself, why do you get out of this mode ever? Because it's so freeing. I mean, when you're in that mode of being really humble and vulnerable, nothing matters. It's like the universe the universe is truly the doer. In yoga, we like to say that we're the instrument, and the higher consciousness is the doer, and that's kind of what's happening,
That's
in
right.
that moment. And so it was another time for me to get into that mode of humbleness and surrender. And I thought, okay, let's.
So I have the question that's bugging me, and that is, I'm thinking as you're talking how we are spiritual beings in these human bodies.
Mm,
Doesn't mean we're not going to get colds and sick and
right,
all that stuff. We have to
right,
learn to deal with it. And what spirituality does is gives us
mm,
different options,
yeah,
different options.
yeah.
So how does somebody get into a space of being humble if that's not their natural state?
Yeah, there's opening the heart has a lot to do with it. That, and there's a couple of things that uh, I would like to suggest. We're going to do a breathing technique that's very
Oh,
helpful for that. But before we do that, I want to mention karma yoga, which is basically selfless service. Whenever you do something for others or for someone else with no expectation of reward, that's selfless service, and that's karma yoga.
mm,
And every act of selfless service is an act of softening the ego. And
mm,
it's not about me, it's about you. you know. And so karma yoga is a great thing to do. And you don't have to, some people do it for volunteer organizations, but you could help a friend across the street. You could help a family member who needs
mm,
help. You could help a neighbor. It,
mm,
whatever it is, you're doing this because the other person needs it, and
right,
you have no expectation of getting any reward from it.
right.
That's really one of the big things that opens us up to that humbleness and that
Mm,
vulnerability.
mm,
It's, the more we can do selfless service. I mean, for me, that was the thing that when I first started yoga, my mind was busy as could be, but it was the karma yoga that calmed the mind and it allowed me to move
mm.
forward. So
So
big
you
important.
could literally set a goal of doing a kind deed every day. That
Yeah,
would be a big step towards
you
that
could,
karma action.
everybody has the opportunity to do something every day.
Yeah.
Could be it's the smallest thing. You could do
Yes.
something online. You could do something for a neighbor. You could help someone carry a bag in a store.
Yes.
Endless amount of things. So that's really a big factor. And the other thing I want to do is this particular breath practice because it's very helpful to opening us up, to getting the heart to open up. So, and it's a little different than a lot of the practices we do in yoga. But
Okay.
we're going to start bringing the palms together in front of the heart, like in prayer position. And the first step is you're going to think of something you love about yourself, something you love about someone else, someone you love that you haven't seen for 5 years. You want to just stimulate that feeling. And then after you stimulate the feeling, we're going to inhale through our nose, extend our arms out, and just let the love radiate out through our fingertips all the way out. And then when we exhale, we bring it all back in and our hands come back together. So we're going to do this. And let's do it about 5 times. We'll do it slowly, but it's it just helps to open the heart. And when the heart opens, and especially because we're sending that love out, it's getting us into that selfless mode. So let's start. We're palms together in prayer position in front of the heart. We're going to think of someone we love, something we love about ourselves, or someone we love we haven't seen for 5 years. And now inhale. This love's radiating out, opening our arms, radiating out through our fingertips, far and wide. And then we exhale. We bring the love back in, palms together. Letting that love just radiate in us. Let's do it again. We're going to inhale and open. And exhale, bring the love in. Just feeling that love. Let's do it again, inhaling. Just radiating with that love. One more time. Just let yourself sit with that. It opens the door.
It definitely opens the heart's door.
It opens the heart's door. When the heart's door opens, there's always the softening of the ego and the humbleness comes in. And, this is just a really easy thing to do, a beautiful, easy thing to do. I would do it every day.
Yeah, it also makes you feel more open and receptive, not just extending out, but you're more of an open vessel. So you're available for more of that to be coming through you during the day. So what a great thing to start your day off with.
Yeah, it's a great thing to do. And you don't need to have something happen to you to get into the humbleness mode.
Right.
I'm talking about, there's shifts that occurred for me, but if you can stay in that mode, you don't need to have anything happen to you to get into that mode.
So it occurs to me this is a really good practice for somebody like me who, when I came into the yoga center, was very much an A-type personality, was very driven by my will. So if I got up in the morning and I had like a list of goals that I had to, take care of, or tasks to take care of, if I started my day off this way by opening the heart and having that idea of self-giving and the openness and receptive, everything that I would do from that point on would look totally differently. I would respond totally different. It's not like I don't get my tasks done. I would still do them, but I wouldn't be like with my, head down, driving through, not caring about anybody else around me, just getting my stuff done. I would be incorporating whatever's going on in the world, and I would be, more responsive and responsible in that very humble mode.
Absolutely. I find when I'm in that mode, things get done better.
Right, better. Well, because you're not pissing people off.
Right.
Because
I'm not being the doer.
I was often the doer and somebody that would get in the way and just be obnoxious, because I couldn't get my stuff
we're
done.
just plowing through. We're getting it done,
Yeah, which is not a good thing to do in the long run.
Right.
All of you A-type personalities out there listening,
right? Listen to this.
Change that as quick as you can, because all you end up doing is stressing yourself to death. And then you either get to a point where you're mentally, physically sick, or all of those things, and you got to figure out, you have to backtrack and figure out what you did wrong. Let us help you.
You bet.
This is the best way to approach it. Is with that open heart and humbleness, so that you are not racking up a ton of karma as you're going through the day. You're doing good in the world, and you know what I mean. So yeah, that's a great example for people that are really A-types.
Yep, it really works, and we hope that you'll try this. Try this practice and take the opportunities for karma yoga. And I think just the fact that you're interested in this podcast, you probably will enjoy this service. And I think
you'll like yourself more when you're being humble.
That's for sure.
Instead of arrogant. Trust me on that one.
It's so true. It is so true. I
Yeah.
feel so much better about myself this week than I did a couple weeks ago. So,
Oh,
yeah.
I feel so much better about myself than I have in my whole lifetime. So I've been working on this for a
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah. It's a long time. It's a long So I hope this is really helpful for you and you'll take it to heart because it can be a really transforming life experience. So,
Again, it was helpful for me.
so,
Thank you, my friend.
okay.
See you next week,
See you
everyone.
next week, everyone.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye.
Bye.